To discuss all of these things related to Iran, let's bring in Iman Foroughteh, a chairman and executive director of the New Iran, the New Iran is the name of the organization. And Dr. Foroughteh, first of all, what do you make of the comments by Khamenei on this day to essentially warn the United States that there will be no negotiations, and also to warn his own President Rouhani, don't trust the Europeans?
Thank you for having me on your program, David. Well, this was all expected. This is basically what Khamenei said today is something that we had expected for a long time, and we have been telling our audiences inside Iran as we do our satellite television broadcasts into Iran. This means that even Europeans do not wish to follow up with their P5+1 agreement. If you recall, a couple of days ago, President Macron of France actually canceled the meeting when he found out that Iran Islamic Republic had funded and had a plot with his diplomats in Belgium to go and bomb a gathering of Iranian opposition in France. And monetarily doesn't make sense. Companies like General Electric, Total, Siemens, Boeing, they've all pulled out from any investments in Iran, and this is further triangulation of Islamic Republic economically. And this is only after 2 weeks that the first phase of sanctions has happened. Economic situation was much worse before, and it's going to get even worse after November once the second phase of the sanctions are applied to Islamic Republic.
Can you play the tape forward for us? And this is something we discussed here before we brought you on, but if the nuclear deal fails, does Iran then restart the nuclear program? Is that what you see happening?
Well, let's talk about what part of nuclear program. To have a nuclear bomb, there's 3 components to it. You know, it's the enrichment, it's actually having missiles to deliver it, and it's also the warhead to trigger the nuclear bomb. The nuclear deal only talked about enrichment, limiting the enrichment from 20% uranium. Iran, Islamic Republic has been continuing their missile tests, and they have been working on their warheads. So whether they continue or not really does not matter because they know what the consequences will be, and that's something that every country in the world, including Russia, Islamic Republic's biggest ally, they oppose. And that's assuming Islamic Republic has any money to put into those research. So I think it's all a bluff, and it's a last-minute bluff in order to stay in power a little bit longer and see what they can get from the Western countries as far as financial help goes.
So it's your estimation, it's your prediction, therefore, that yes, they'll continue to work on their missiles and also the warhead technology, but that they will not actually restart the enrichment side of their nuclear program.
Well, the enrichment is the only component of the nuclear deal with the U.S. and the P5+1. So Iran is now threatening to start enrichment. And they can do that. We already know they may already be doing that because nobody can get into the Natanz area where they're doing a lot of these tests. So I'm sure the Atomic Energy Agency and the Western countries will be very much focused in and trying to learn what Iran is up to and stop it.
But it's not the only card they have. They can also attack Israel through their proxies. They seem to be wanting to stay in Syria for a very long time. Then you have the Strait of Hormuz, which they're threatening to shut down, which could disrupt oil supplies. So if the nuclear deal fails, maybe they won't restart their nuclear program, but they could cause a lot of damage.
Which is nothing new. They've been causing trouble for the last 40 years. The fact that Islamic Republic went ahead and supposedly signed a separate agreement with Syria a couple days ago to stay there longer, that shows the new divide between Islamic Republic and Russia. 2 months ago, a representative of Khamenei traveled to Moscow, talked to Putin, came back to Iran and said, well, we may not want to stay in Syria for so long. President Trump has already announced that no way they're going to allow Iranian troops in Syria. Russia has already told them so. That's the last stronghold of Islamic Republic to support Hezbollah and all the terrorist activities against Israel. So even at this time, Russia will not allow them to do so. And who knows what may happen soon as far as attacks against the Islamic Republic forces and Quds forces inside Syria.
Perhaps, although it's still not clear if the U.S. has any leverage to actually force Iran out. But Dr. Iman Foroughteh, we thank you for coming on our show this evening and giving us your analysis.
You know, the one thing we didn't
Thank you
talk
for
about,
having me.
and that is the public protests that continue in Iran. And you get the sense that the Iranian government is increasingly, the Iranian regime is increasingly worried and concerned about where the public protests are going and the economic anxieties that so many people are feeling. And maybe this is not the time, therefore, where they invite perhaps either military action from the United States or Israel, perhaps even stronger sanctions because of what they may do either with the nuclear program or possibly in Syria.
And that's a rational way of looking at that, how they may behave, but the government there is split, again, amongst hardliners, the Revolutionary Guards, the moderates. Everybody has their own priorities here, so they may not all do the rational thing.
Yeah.